Welcome to the Off Leash podcast with Dr. Pete. I'm your co-host Molly, and we're so glad that you joined us for today's show. Remember, we're not here to say what you want us to say. We're just here to be an advocate for your pet.
Is this where I say amen?
Amen.
Okay.
Dog, cat, reptile, all kinds. You don't see that many reptiles, though.
No, we don't do any exotic work to speak of.
You used to.
We used to do. We had one guy like doing it, and Dr. Van Ryswick used to do birds.
You get a lot of birds?
No, not really anymore. I mean,
No.
yeah.
Dang.
Yep.
You used to have parrots. We had just a Pete lore. Sharon used to have two
Yellow napes.
yellow napes.
Yep.
And they would sing.
Chatty.
They were very chatty.
Sing "I Love Bread and Butter." Bread and Butter by the New Beats. They sang.
That's right.
Yep.
And then they would swear.
No, I don't think they really swore.
I think they said, damn it.
No, I don't think so. I think they said apple, and your mother interpreted it as asshole.
No, because she said something about whenever you watch the game and you would swear and they like tried to pick up on it or something.
I
And she's
never
like,
noticed that.
that came from your dad.
She's making that up.
I'm sure she does. So let's get right into it today. We're going to kind of be going over a controversial topic that I get asked quite a bit. And we get a lot of questions about it online.
Sure.
So some people are on one side of the fence, some people are on the other side of the fence, but we're going to discuss both sides. Get your point of view, my point of view. Are we over-vaccinating dogs? You know what? We shouldn't even just say dogs. We should just say
pets in general.
Pets.
Yeah. Are we over vaccinating? No, I don't believe I think we did at one time. I mean, we were given the viral things every year. And so on cats and dogs now, the viral things would be mostly distemper and parvo. So distemper was around when I was young. It's still around, but it's in kind of located, kind of isolated places in the country.
Yeah.
Parvo's still around, although a lot of times in, places in the country that are, aren't that well populated, they don't see much parvo. But
right.
if you live in New York or Cleveland or Boston,
you might still see a lot of
Yeah, you might
parvo.
still see it, sure. or concentrated places down south sometimes. So we do vaccinate for parvo. We don't see much of the parvo anymore because we've kind of about vaccinated our way out of it.
Right.
And we certainly have pretty much vaccinated our way out of distemper. Now, were we to quit doing it for 10 years, it'd all be back.
It would?
Sure.
Just because it gets, by vaccinating, you kind of
your
develop
population,
an immunity to it.
Right. Well, your population. So you have to remember when a dog has puppies and all her puppies get her colostrum, and that's the stuff that bitch had been exposed to. So they have temporary immunity, and then when you vaccinate them, you get permanent immunity. So they kind of go from one side of the street to the other side of the street.
Yeah.
And it's seamless, and most people don't even understand what happened. Now, that all being said, there are places that we still see distemper. In Mexico, sometimes in isolated places out west, sometimes on Indian reservations, they'll see distemper.
But it's not as prevalent as it once was.
No. We used to see it every other week or something like that when I was a kid. And then the dogs, when they got it, they had these sort of odd-looking enamel setups on their teeth, and so you'd see they had these really weird teeth that had all these erosions in them and everything.
Ew.
Anyway, yeah. So we would know that when we saw it, and occasionally we see somebody moves in from a border town down in, on the border of Mexico, and they may get it. They may see a dog or two down there every so often. So, it depends on the veterinarians. If there's any veterinarians going to listen to this podcast, a lot of them will say, yeah, we see it where I live. And most of them would say, no, we don't see it where you live.
Right. So there's two sides to every the vaccine story,
sure.
Right? And I'm not just talking about distemper. So we want to cover all of them. So the vaccines obviously prevent devastating diseases like parvo, distemper, I don't even know this one. Adenovirus?
Adenovirus, yeah.
Adenovirus. What is that? It sounds like a bird virus.
It's just another part of
I've never even heard of that one.
Yeah, well, it used to be, it was DHPP.
Oh, that's DHPP.
Distemper, hepatitis, parainfluenza, and parvo. So
Adenovirus.
Adenovirus is DA2P. Yeah, the A was the adenovirus.
Yeah.
So there's been some stuff that happened. At one time we vaccinated for corona, but we don't, and I think
coronavirus?
Coronavirus.
In dogs?
Yeah, but not
in dogs.
In dogs. And so coronavirus was a thing at one time, but it was a different kind of coronavirus than COVID. But, and I think that was a marketing ploy by somebody, to be honest with you. And
it's kind of like the anti-venom vaccines.
I think the anti-venom vaccine, if you live in the right part of the country, that's a deal. So there's not enough proof that they work. I just did a podcast with your guy. With your guy. And he was like, you can get it, but there's literally, like, the dogs can still get bit and it can. Yeah, well, that may be. And they're still screwed. I don't have that much. And most of the time you're looking at people getting antitoxin. Yeah. Well, that's what he sells, obviously. Anti-venom. Yeah, that's right. Anti-venom. Yeah. So the over-the-counter concern is that every dog needs every vaccine every year. Modern guidelines separate the core from non-core vaccines, and non-core vaccines should be chosen on lifestyle, geography, exposure risk, and local disease prevalence. Exactly. So if you live where we live and we see 500 cases of Lyme every year, you got actually two choices. You can either control the ticks so you don't get Lyme disease.
Yes.
And that's probably my favorite one, because there's other tick-borne disease, Ehrlichia and anaplasmosis. Mm-hmm. Or you can vaccinate for it. And some of the people that are kind of paranoid about it will do both. So if you lived out right now, if you lived in Augusta, which is outside of Battle Creek here, or
lots of ticks,
or Richland, not only a lot of ticks, a lot of Lyme. And so you see, it's like the epicenter in our county for having Lyme disease. So
that's wild.
So maybe if you live there,
is there any natural predator for a tick? Birds?
Well, birds will eat them, and really the thing that probably eats them most of them are possums.
Oh, don't hit possums then. We love possums.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about core versus non-core vaccines.
Okay.
The AAHA lists examples of core vaccines, such as canine distemper virus.
Yep.
Canine, this is the one I can't pronounce, adenovirus. Adenovirus.
Yep.
Type 2.
Yep.
Apparently there's different types. Canine parvovirus, type 2.
Yep, we need to keep vaccinating for that. That's actually a core vaccine.
Okay, this is the full name, but I know it is leptospirosis.
Yep. There's about 4 serovars of that we vaccinate for now.
Serovars?
Yeah, in other words...
break that down for me.
Well, it's like...
in the kindergartner
terms. Like
strains?
4 strains.
Okay.
4 strains. So, let's see, Canicola, Ectohemorrhagica, Gripo typhosa, and...
you're losing me.
And Pomona. So those are the 4 most prevalent leptos. And listen, so it depends on where you live. So if you lived in Chicago and you went to Grant Park all the time, you absolutely, or you went to Central Park in New York, or you were in certain parts of the country where they have a lot of lepto, then yes, it's a big deal.
Okay.
So we see that. So we see lepto, if they're not vaccinated for it, we see that frequently.
Do you get the lepto per strain, or is it like all the strains in one?
All strains in one. So it's usually a DHLPP. So
that's it.
L would have all the leptos in it.
And then the last one is rabies.
Rabies is a state thing.
It says these are core vaccines.
Yep, that's right.
Important nuisance. Rabies is legally regulated. So titers? So usually do not replace rabies vaccinations for legal compliance.
That's right. So when you get bit and you take, let's say your friend gets bit and you take him to the hospital and it's a dog bite, then it gets reported to the police. So then the police go out to wherever that home was that friend of yours got bit, and then they make that guy produce a rabies certificate that matches that dog.
Really?
If he doesn't, then this dog has to be kept in quarantine for 10 days. Yeah.
Okay.
Or that if they can't find it, if he moved to Louisiana in the night after that happened, then this guy may have to undergo the rabies injections, which are painful.
Geez.
Yeah. So there's a lot of moving parts to this.
So here's the non-core vaccines.
Yep.
And it says these are depending on risk. Bordetella.
Okay, so Bordetella is a respiratory thing. That's a bacteria.
It says these are non-core. So these are not the...
So, but if you're going to go to a boarding kennel...
You need Bordetella.
Then you need Bordetella. If you're going to go to a groomer's, you need Bordetella. If you're going to go to doggy daycare, you need Bordetella. That's right.
Lyme is the next one.
Okay, if you're either going to control the Lyme with the tick control, and some people make this distinction that, well, they put it on every so often and they're pretty sure they're not going to get Lyme. We had yesterday was checking a dog and he told me that he'd seen ticks on his dog. So I said, well, he just had a heart test last fall, and it was not for Lyme Ehrlichia anaplasmosis. So it was heartworm all by itself. So the heart test can either come heartworm all by itself or heartworm, Lyme, Ehrlichia.
Oh, you can detect Lyme from a heartworm test?
Yeah. So there's
I thought it was just heartworm.
No, well, the heartworm test is just the heartworm, but you put all four of them on a platter and then run the test all at the same time.
Yeah.
So this guy came back and he didn't have Lyme, he didn't have anaplasmosis, he didn't have Ehrlichia, but he did have heartworm, and he was heartworm negative last fall.
Okay.
So
there's not a heartworm vaccine, is there?
There used to be, but it never worked very well.
Okay, so they got rid of it.
Yeah, so they got rid of it. But the Lyme vaccine works, reasonably well to prevent you from getting Lyme disease. In fact, with people, if I had my druthers, we'd have and I think they're working on that now. Maybe it's even been released. There's a Lyme vaccine for people who live in, if somebody is a forester or a guide or something like that, and they don't want to get that stuff, they should get vaccinated, because I don't know if you can actually protect the ticks. We can't give you anything orally. It's one of the reasons the tick stuff we use now, NexGard, Bravecto, Simparica, Credelio, it's a systemic. And so when the tick bites you, they die before they give you Lyme.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't do that with people. So now with people.
So it takes a while to transfer the Lyme disease.
It does. Usually a day and a half, maybe.
They have to be attached for a day and a half?
Yep.
Ew.
All that time.
Now you got me checking my hair for ticks.
The ticks sucking stuff in and then swirling around his mouth and spitting it back out, just like somebody who chews tobacco. But anyway, so that's how people get it. So but with dogs, we really have almost kind of a foolproof thing, as long as you remember to give your pills.
Yeah.
And by the way, your little dog I gave.
I know, I gave it. Oh, you already gave it to her?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. I opened one this morning to give to her, and I didn't give it to her.
No, Jade or Potato. She needs 2 of those, by the way.
She does?
Yeah, she's 14 pounds. Those are 48s. Yeah, okay. So she needs 2 of them.
Okay, so I can give her the second one.
Huh?
I can give her a second one?
No, I gave her 2 the other day. So you give 2 at the same time. In this case, we had some
smaller ones,
short-dated small ones. Yeah.
So the next one on the list,
yes,
is canine influenza.
Yep. And
non-core vaccine.
Non-core vaccine. But so what we've had 2 cases of influenza going through the United States, probably 7, 8, 9 years ago. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Should we still be vaccinating for them? No, I don't think we've had an outbreak in a while. But you'd have to look that up when we get all done. Has there been an influenza breakout in the United States in the last 2 years? And then in those things, those breakouts weren't never in a place like Colon or Burr Oak or any little towns around here. They're in a big city.
Mm-hmm.
Not even Battle Creek. It'd have to be like in Chicago or New York or San Francisco, where you have a real concentration of dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So one of these was brought over from Korea, and the other one was something that came out of the horse population down in Florida.
Really?
It's a mutated. I
did not know that.
A mutated influenza thing. And really, and in fact, that's what you're really seeing now, this bird flu, that influenza is affecting cats at dairy facilities and stuff, because it's getting into cows.
Yes.
So it's bird influenza that affects cows, which affects cats.
Yeah.
So this thing all changes, not daily, not even weekly, but monthly. Sometimes these things change. Now, in any state, like in our state right now, there's somebody up in Lansing that's in charge of keeping an eye out for all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Where's it been reported? How many cases? What were the outcomes? So they got to figure out, how hot is this virus?
Right.
Is it really hot or is it not really hot? So we have these influenza vaccines. So we never had an outbreak here in Battle Creek. But what we did do is, if we had people that were truck drivers and they took their dogs with them and stuff, or they traveled a lot, we would go out of our way to make sure those dogs got vaccinated for influenza.
Because it's more common in other
Because
places.
it's more common, and some of those dogs died.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
The last one on the list is rattlesnake toxoid.
Yeah, and I don't know much about that other than my friend makes that out in...
He does not make the rattles. He makes the antivenom.
Antivenom, yeah.
Not the vaccine.
No.
We actually had a controversial topic.
So we don't know. So
via podcast.
I can't look at you with a straight face and talk with any sense of authority because I don't have a sense of authority about this because
we don't deal with it here.
Because I don't deal with it here. Do we have rattlesnakes? Yes. Do we have rattlesnake antivenom? I suppose the hospitals do because they'd have to be prepared.
Do you have it at your
No, we don't have
clinic?
it. Don't have it. No.
Okay, so this is where the over-vaccination arguments are the strongest. A low-exposure dog may not need the same non-core vaccine package as a dog who boards, hikes, goes in tick-heavy regions, travels, attends daycare, or lives in a high lepto area.
Okay.
Where over-vaccination can happen. Annual boosters by habit. Some clinics historically boosted everything yearly. Modern protocols often use longer intervals for certain core vital vaccines after the puppy series and initial booster.
Sure. So every veterinarian that's worth his or her salt usually is working in a community where they understand what they see and what they don't see. So as a general rule,
right,
you vaccinate for what you do see, and you don't really
leave
vaccinate
out what you don't see.
And what you don't see. That's right. So we had a horrible breakout of Bordetella here, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. In fact, so much so that we were starting to get Bordetella that was resistant to doxycycline, which I'd never seen that before. So we do see that. And then what happened was when we started doing the cultures, we started finding some of these Bordetellas weren't really Bordetella. They were Mycoplasma, which is a different bacteria, which we really don't have a vaccine for.
Right.
Well, so, do we do the Bordetella? I mean, the problem with Bordetella, you get a respiratory infection that sometimes can lead to other kinds of respiratory infections that are really fairly severe.
Yeah. But obviously, you base it on what the dog's going through. So a city dog who does not go out and see a lot of nature is like a hunting dog or a daycare dog or a Lyme heavy region dog is not going to get the same vaccine. Sure. It's not a one size fits all.
Well,
and there should be a difference. I'm going to add in here. There should be a difference between a vaccine visit to the vet and a wellness visit.
Yeah, there usually isn't. So
but you don't have to go to the vet every single time to just get shots.
No, but when you go to the vet, it's like, well, check this lump, check that lump. Look at the ears. The teeth need to be clean. So there's all this stuff that occurs.
But I feel like people show up once a year and they're like, give my dog the shots. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? Most people want to go ahead and talk about stuff. So let's talk about stuff. I have a scribe now, so I spend as much time in the room with clients as I can. Yeah. And we'll talk about the food and why they should feed this food and why they shouldn't feed that food and how often they should give their heartworm preventive, how often they should give their flea and tick preventive. Is it year-round? Is it 9 months a year? I joked a little bit with clients the other day. There were 2 months of the year you probably wouldn't get Lyme disease. And they're like, yeah, right, probably like January and February, right? And I'm like, no, wrong. Probably January and July, because July is usually so dry you don't see very many ticks, and ticks are in the ground and don't.
When
come
it's
up.
Moist in a certain. Hold on, we did this episode. Hold on, ticks come out of the ground when it's moist and between 40 degrees.
Well, it's about 35 degrees, 36 degrees, and they like cold, damp weather. They don't want to be out there
when it's hot.
Yeah, let's go to the beach. That's not the day they want to come out.
No. So let's also add into this episode that puppies should get vaccinated.
They should.
I have a lot of people that I know, not a lot, but a handful they get a puppy and they're like, well, I just don't want to vaccinate. I don't believe in vaccines. I don't want to vaccinate my puppy.
Well, they'll have a problem, or they could have a problem. See, and that's when we talk about herd immunity. The fact that everybody else in the community vaccinates their dog for distemper and parvo and lepto probably lessens the chance that dog's going to get infected. But if there got to be half the people in the county or half the people in the city side, well, we don't want to vaccinate anymore. We're real anti-vaxxers. Then that disease will come back, and the dogs that are protected will be protected, and the dogs that aren't are going to be SOL. And I think you know what that stands for, right?
Shit out of luck.
Very good.
Okay, I have a question. What's a titer?
So a titer is a measurement of what your immunity is. So if you got so if it's 1 to 1,500, it means you have a fair amount of immunity.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, and
it says titers can help measure the antibody response.
If it's really low, and you only get a response at 1 to 20, then you'll know that your dog's not.
Is this a test?
Yeah, well, it's a test, a blood test you send in.
It's a blood test.
Yeah,
okay.
You just send it to a state lab.
And do you recommend them?
No, because you spend 3 times as much money running the titers as you do vaccinating the dogs.
What would you consider over-vaccination for our area?
Well, let's talk about, can we just briefly talk about cats for a second?
Yeah.
So let's talk about cats. Cats usually get 3 vaccines initially: feline leukemia and feline distemper.
I'm not a cat person. Do they go through the same thing as dogs?
Well, it's a viral
like
thing.
when they're not puppies, kittens?
Yeah, essentially they do.
Okay.
And rabies. So we vaccinate. So when somebody brings a little kitten in, we say, is this cat going to be indoor or outdoor? And they say, it's just strictly going to be indoor. Okay. Actually, usually those cats we vaccinate for feline distemper and leukemia once or, twice when they're young. And so if they come back at 18 months of age or 16 months of age, whatever it is, and they haven't gone outdoors yet, then we just take the leukemia out. Leukemia is carried in the saliva of other cats. Okay? So if the feline distemper is an airborne thing, a different deal. And then those cats we start just doing every 3 years for all the upper.
Isn't it dogs 2 years?
3 years.
Dogs are 3 years?
Yep. For everything but lepto. Lepto's a Bactrin. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about
Lepto's a what?
It's a Bactrin. It's a vaccine for a bacteria.
Bactrin.
Whereas distemper and parvo are vaccines for viruses.
Okay.
Okay. So here's how simple this is. Okay. The viruses are like, how much is 7 times 2? 14, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How much is 5 times 5? 25. Okay. Those are the.
Wait, it's not 5. You said 5 times 5. Sorry. I thought you said 5 plus 5.
Okay.
My brain is still waking up today.
Okay. Chalk one up for the cough syrup. Anyway,
don't give me math questions this early.
Okay. So those are pretty simple. If I ask you how much 17 times 29 is, you'd say, well, hell, I don't know what 17 times 29 is. But those are the bacteria. They're harder to remember.
Okay.
Harder to remember. You can't quite remember that as easy. The Bactrins, Bordetella, Bactrin, leptospirosis, Bactrin, Lyme disease, Bactrin. Okay. So it's harder for the body to remember all of those. Okay. They'll all respond to antibiotics. The problem is with Lyme, sometimes you've got irreversible kidney disease. Sometimes with Bordetella, you got pneumonia. Sometimes with lepto, you've got kidney failure.
Mm-hmm.
So there are these bacteria that we vaccinate for that'll take your dog's life. So we don't want that to happen if we can help it. So usually what we do is we kind of look at the community we live in and then make decisions based on what that dog's lifestyle is.
Mm-hmm.
So listen, do you go to the boarding kennel all the time? Do you go to doggy daycare all the time? Do you go to the groomers all the time? So all the time adds up to all the vaccines, usually.
So I have some scenarios for you. And I'd like you to, I'm going to give you like a dog in their situation.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me what vaccines you're going to give them.
Okay.
So we're going to start with Ben. Ben has a 7-year-old yellow lab. He goes out hunting every fall, brings his dog to the park, does not take his dog to a daycare, but has his dog around other dogs. What should he get?
So he should get distemper parvo every 3 years. Okay.
That's it?
Yep. Well, no. He should get lepto every year.
Every year?
Yeah. We didn't talk about whether he's on flea and tick control.
He is.
He's on flea and tick control. So I can take or not take Lyme, either one. I can live with it.
Okay.
And my argument here is that we also see anaplasmosis. We also see Ehrlichia.
Okay.
So I guess I'm interested in really preventing all 3 of those diseases, not just the Lyme, but the anaplasmosis, the Ehrlichia. Okay. So the Bordetella he probably doesn't need, even though he goes to the boarding kennel.
He does not go to the boarding kennel.
Oh, he goes to doggy daycare?
He does not go to doggy daycare.
He doesn't. Okay. He probably doesn't need the Bordetella.
Okay.
Unless he's thrown his dogs in the back of in a van with a bunch of crates in there and they're going out to hunt in South Dakota, then probably the dog being exposed to other dogs ought to have, because I don't know what the background on those dogs is. I mean, and we see dogs get Bordetella just because the dog on the other side of a fence came out of a boarding kennel, or maybe he was just adopted from a shelter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see that all the time.
Okay.
So how do we explain it? Well, it's pretty easy. We both have an upper respiratory thing. I'm not sure where we both got it, but we got it from somebody. And it probably wasn't from kissing them, or at least wasn't with me. And so we know that they got it from probably being in an enclosure where somebody else had that same thing. And so you have those bugs floating around. And I work at a veterinary clinic, and so I talk to clients every day, and I'm around my employees all the time.
Mm-hmm. You ready for the next example?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Nancy just adopted a 4-year-old Pomeranian mix from the shelter. She just came into the clinic, said that she gave the dog heartworm, but not flea and tick. She's planning on dropping the dog off to doggy daycare every single day, but outside of that does not take the dog to do many outside activities. What should Nancy do?
Okay, so Nancy ought to be vaccinated for bordetella and lepto, distemper and parvo, and rabies.
Does she need to put her dog on flea and tick, even though it doesn't go outside very often?
No, because it's going into, did you say it's going to doggy daycare?
It goes to doggy daycare every day.
I said it needs flea and tick. Yeah, definitely needs flea and tick.
For doggy daycare?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there are going to be other dogs there. Yeah, and if there's ticks on those other dogs, see, you just can't assume.
You have to assume all the.
Yeah, and we see this all the time. We see this all the time.
Factors.
Have you ever seen a tick on your dog? No. Have you been on stuff? Yes. We're going to 40X your dog to make sure you don't have anything today. Okay. Comes back negative for heartworm, but positive for both Lyme and anaplasmosis. By the way, which we just give doxycycline for and takes care of both of them. Well, it was a black dog, and the ticks were dark, and they were about the size of a sesame seed. So I'm not surprised she didn't see him. Mm-hmm. I'm not surprised at all she didn't see him. But somehow or another, she got him.
Okay.
And in Michigan, you're going to have to assume, if we're seeing over 500 cases a year in our veterinary clinic, I mean, everybody's a candidate for this stuff.
Okay.
Yep. And you can take the history, and that, a nice thing now, with the records, I can look back and I see, listen, you got 12 Simparica trios last year in 12 months. Mm-hmm. You probably should be in good shape.
Okay.
And we just need to make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to do. And then the other thing is, we just talked a little bit about this, people who travel across the United States, truckers and stuff that take their dogs, and very seldom their cats, but most of the time their dogs,
I've seen a few cats that travel.
Yeah, but not very many. Mm-mm. But they take their dogs with them, and they stop at they stop at rest stops. And guess who else stops at rest stops? Everybody from Maine to Key West. Everybody's been in that place. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then what happens there is, if they had fleas or they had ticks when they went to the rest area, then
the dog's going to get it.
Well, yeah, they can, or the raccoons come out and they live on the raccoons for a while till more dogs come by and they get off and their eggs hatch and they get off the they become little nymphs, and then they become little teeny tiny ticks, and then they get on dogs, and then next thing you know, your dog has this stuff, and a lot of people can't figure out where they got it from. Yeah. I think I think we've talked on this before. We were doing a little project one time, and we had a chance to blood test some coyotes. So we did 10 coyotes, and 5 of them had heartworms, and 5 of them had anaplasmosis, and every single coyote had Lyme disease.
I was going to say heartworm.
Nope. 5 of them had heartworm, 5 of them had anaplasmosis, and 10 of them had Lyme.
Well, yeah, they're always outside.
Yeah,
it's not a shock at all.
The coyotes are a reservoir for that disease. And so you see that, and you have to understand where you live and everything. And a lot of this has to do with, where you take your dog. I have friends who walk there. They have a nice little thing called Kellogg Forest out there in Augusta. And man, that is tick heaven out there. And when I get a dog from out there, from Augusta, and somebody brings it in and says, well, we want to have our dog. We're going to bring the rest of our dogs in over the next 3 or 4 months. Mm-hmm. How many dogs you got? 4. Okay. Well, this one has Lyme. So I suggest you bring the other 3 in tomorrow, and we'll make sure they don't have Lyme, because we need to go ahead and put that in check before it becomes a reversible disease for you. So yeah, Lyme can kill your dog. Lepto can kill your dog. Parvo can kill your dog. Distemper can kill your dog.
Lots
Rabies
can kill your dog.
Lepto can kill your dog. the Bordetella thing, it can kill your dog. It's not as likely, just more likely to give you a really bad cough for a while.
Right.
So it really becomes...
But they're not as common as...
Well, Bordetella is very common. Lepto was fairly common. So lepto, we used to not vaccinate dogs less than 20 pounds. So we had a bunch of less than 20-pound dogs getting lepto. And then we went down to 10 pounds. Now we have a bunch of dogs less than 10 pounds getting lepto. So now what we do, we vaccinate all the dogs. So if you got a dog and it's breathing and it goes outside, it gets lepto vaccine. We usually give Benadryl on the small dogs before they go out. And I can tell you, we have rules for that we don't want to have vaccine reactions. So what we do with any dog that has his nose pushed in that's less than 20 pounds gets Benadryl.
It says 5.5 million kennel cough cases are seen by U.S. veterinarians each year.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. Now, kennel cough includes some of the viruses and it includes everything, not necessarily Bordetella. Bordetella would be way overrepresented in that group of coughing dogs. But kennel cough means you went in the kennel and you came out with a cough.
Wasn't Bordetella basically kennel cough?
Well, it's what's been referred to as kennel cough, but mycoplasma causes the same thing, so I guess that's kennel cough too.
I guess I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's like, if you have a dog that is coughing that was in a boarding kennel, so we can take these swabs and send the swabs in. Usually the outfit that sells us our vaccines will run those for free, and we can see.
I was just in your vet clinic, and this dog was doing that. Wait, what is the sound when they cough? Like a honk. Yeah. This dog kept doing that in the waiting room, and I was like, "Oh, does your dog have kennel cough?" And he goes, "No, he just tugs on the leash a lot."
Well, that's claps and trachea then. Yeah.
And I was like, "How do you tell the difference?"
Well, you take an X-ray.
Oh, of the...
Yeah, so you can't have kennel cough for the last 15 months.
But I was like, I bet that's kennel cough. No.
Nope.
It's just the dog.
So he needs a harness. That guy needs a harness. That dog needs a harness.
This guy would get his butt drug across the waiting room if he had a harness, because this dog was like, he was having a hard time with it. It was a 110-pound lab.
Then he needs to gain 50 pounds. The guy does. Yeah.
That's what the dog kept coughing. I was like, is that kennel cough? And he's like, no. He just tugs on the leash.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's all that I have for you today with this topic.
Yes. So you have to, let's wrap this up and just say this.
Yeah.
You need to kind of depend on your veterinarian. So the problem here is I got to be pretty careful about what I say, but veterinarians as a general rule will suggest you get what you need in that community, and they'll know what the exposure rates are in their community. Now, the problem is if there's a corporation making decisions about what they're going to vaccinate for, it's going to be a whole different cat.
Yeah, if they're doing a one-size-fits-all vaccine plan, it's probably...
And the other thing, yes, your dog weighs like 15 pounds, they want to give them 5 vaccines. No, split it up.
Yeah.
Split it up.
Okay.
Split it up. And give Benadryl before you do it.
With small dogs.
Yeah, and small dogs. And any dachshund gets vaccinated by us, your dog gets vaccinated. Yeah, it's a Benadryl. Any dog with a pushed-in face, like a Frenchie or a pug or a Boston Bull.
I don't see too many pugs anymore.
Gets Benadryl. Any little white dog.
Any little white dog.
Any little white dog gets Benadryl. Any dog less than 10 pounds gets Benadryl, especially if they're getting the Bactrins, because the Bactrins are usually the most inflammatory part of it. Lyme disease, Bactrin. It's a clean vaccine now, but there is sometimes some adverse events that occur with that. Lepto, same way. Now, most of the Bordetella now is given orally or intranasally, so not as much as it used to be.
Okay. Good to know. So, you ready to get some
kind of a complicated thing. I'm not sure. I hope everybody...
It is complicated.
I hope everybody walks out of this with more knowledge than what they walked into it with. But in the same breath, I have to tell you that next year will be 2027. And
it'll be all different.
Yeah, it will be a different year than this year was. So whether they have a new influenza or whether they have a new lepto strain or what they have, we'll figure it out next year. And when we do, we'll take the appropriate actions and do what veterinarians should do, which is prevent disease and pestilence.
Prevent the preventable and treat the treatable.
Yep.
All right. Well, on that note, let's get some outro music. We sure appreciate you guys joining along with us today. We hope that we've been able to share some good information that will help you love your animals as much as they love you. Don't forget, always, treat the treatable.
Yeah, prevent the preventable so you don't have to treat the treatable.
And we will catch you on the next one.
Adios.